Is the runway clear, Mike?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, all right. So hello and welcome to a special Rogue Media Network interview in conjunction with the Waco Hippodrome. We are broadcasting from the top of the world here at the Alico building in beautiful downtown Waco, and we'd like to welcome two very special guests from Hollywood, USA, both here to discuss one of their latest projects called Airports, which will be screening for free for one night only on Friday, July 18th at the Hippodrome, which is just right in front of us. We can actually kind of see it.
Yeah, it's right down the street.
Here. Yeah. It's 111 years young, and it's still going strong. Mike, do you want to introduce our first guest?
Yeah, let's do that. He's an Academy Award nominated screenwriter, the co-host of Trailers from Hell podcast called The Movies That Made Me, along with director Joe Dante. He has the dubious distinction of single-handedly killing VHS. We'll get to that later. Please welcome Mr. Josh Olson.
Here we go. Howdy, y'all. How y'all doing?
Well, we parked our horses and came on up.
Josh, we've just lost Texas.
Yeah, no, I was doing John Candy, the Dr. Tongue remake of Midnight Cowboy.
Howdy, y'all. All have a 7 and 7, y'all.
Ooh, Dr. Tongue, man.
It's a deep cut, but a funny bit.
Deep cut. Howdy, y'all.
And for our second,
I really apologize.
Dr. Tongue.
Our second guest is a prolific writer-director of such films as Detroit Rock City, Mousehunt, The Dark Backward, The Invisible Maniac, Underdog, The Chase, that's my personal favorite, The Last Movie Star, Small Soldiers, which you wrote and which Joe Dante directed. You also have the distinction of portraying the head nerd in 16 Candles. So please welcome Mr. Adam Rifkin.
Hello.
Adam, I'm sorry to take advantage of this. Are you getting some free copies of the 4K Mousehunt that's coming out?
I got one, and I already gave it away.
Order it? Oh, God.
You need to order it.
I got to buy another one. Okay, fine.
This entire episode is all about free stuff, is what it is.
Yeah.
Saw that at the theater, by the way. First run. That's how old I am.
Mr.
Bless
Rifkin,
you, sir. Bless you.
Can I call you Adam?
Please do. I'd be insulted if you didn't.
said no, you call me Steve. I am very, very sorry, but I didn't know the part about the 16 Candles thing. That is probably the most impressive thing I see on this sheet of paper in front of me here.
Thank you.
You could have been part of the Brat Pack, man.
Well, I'll tell you briefly. 16 Candles shot in Chicago, which is where I'm from. And anytime a movie shot in Chicago, I tried to get on the set as an extra so that I could watch up close the movie being made, the director working. It just was a way for me to learn by observing. And so everybody in our high school, and I went to an arts high school in Chicago, so everybody was kind of a arty, weirdo kid. Yeah. Everybody was told, show up dressed as a tough kid or a nerd. So I dressed in what I believed was my toughest tough kid attire, and John Hughes personally picked me to be the head nerd.
There you go.
So
that's
that
the way
was a life lesson. But anyway, he when I was done working as an extra, I went up to John Hughes and I said, I want to be a director someday like you. Can I come back and shadow you and just watch you work and learn? He said, yes, come whenever you want. And I took him at his word, and I came back every day and I shadowed him for the bulk of the movie, and I learned so much.
That's amazing. Wow, what an opportunity that just gets laid out in front of you there.
It's true. But one of the things that I really took away from that experience was how calm and even keel John Hughes was the entire shoot, because the cliche of movie directors was that they're screaming into megaphones and yelling at people. He was so calm and unflappable, and that just sort of stuck with me.
So he wasn't on the Werner Herzog side of things, is what you're saying?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Gotcha. Werner doesn't really scream so much.
No, Klaus.
People around him. Yeah, Klaus.
I think it was the combination of the two, and the pulling of a boat up a mountain, I think, is probably what caused a lot of that.
But the classic old-timey director screaming into the the old funnel style megaphone is how I imagined it in my mind.
Sure. Well, I mean, what else do you have to go by, All
right. Well, thank you so much for being here, gentlemen. And now this is truly exciting for me, not only because we get to interview you about this very unique project, but also this is my first ever appearance on a podcast. So everyone around the world watching or listening, please go easy on me in the comments section. And since this is my first time, I did not want to fly solo. So to my right, Mike Hamilton, the head producer here at Rogue Media, is definitely no stranger to podcasting. So thank you, Mike, again for being here to break my fall in case I stumble and trip.
Absolutely, sure.
And as I mentioned at the top, we are here to discuss one of your newest projects called Airports, which is a feature-length mashup film comprised of all 4 of the original Airport films. Josh was kind enough to send me a link to the film, and which I've seen multiple times. And I can state beyond a shadow of a doubt that this project is a love letter not only to cinema itself, but also to the very art of post-production. So great job on it, guys.
I like the look on Josh's face whenever you say that. It's just like, yeah, okay.
This may be the dumbest thing either of us has ever done. And I got to say, I've done a few dumb things. Adam's done a lot of dumb things.
Yeah.
That's true. By the way, calling it our latest project.
One of your latest projects.
Just calling it a project at all,
Yeah.
I think gives it too much credit. But we appreciate it. Thank you.
However, before we discuss Airports, I would like to begin by going over some of your individual backgrounds in the area of post-production. A little bit about my own background. At a young age, my older brothers and I would use our dad's Olympus brand camcorder to make home movies. Just like Adam, I'm aware that you did the very same thing with your dad's Super 8 camera, which he purchased from Sears.
Correct.
It was one of the first things I ever bought with my own money. It was a Bolex Super 8. I think it was $80, much the same as young Mr. Rifkin, although no one's released a Blu-ray of my crappy Super 8 movies. So,
well, the Waco Hippodrome would love to screen it when it's there.
No.
So shout out to all the fathers out there for trusting their kids with these expensive cameras. Thanks, Dad. But also shout out to all the mothers for staying with the fathers who trusted their kids with these expensive cameras. So thanks, moms, as well.
Uncles, aunts.
But using our camcorder, my brothers and I remade actual movies like Jaws, Batman, Star Wars. We did E.T. a bunch of times. Roger Rabbit, you name it.
You did it a bunch of times?
Yeah, like I was
you
just
couldn't
an
get it
actor
right, or
for the
what?
first couple of times, but then I actually remade my own versions. But they're all under lock and key.
Very meta ET he had going on there.
But instead of editing these films in the traditional sense, we shot everything in sequence, which again, Adam, I'm aware that you use that same linear method where I'll just give you an example. Shoot a scene in the living room of Batman or Robin throwing the Batarang at the top of the building, push off on the camera's recorder button. You see the Batarang hit the top of the building, press record off again, redress the living room to look like the side of a building, place the camera sideways, press record again, and have Batman or Robin climbing the building. And that's a true story, by the way. I played Robin.
As it was called at the time, in-camera editing.
In-camera editing, yes.
So it wasn't until much later that I discovered how to cut my films as a teenager, which I learned the old method of hooking up 2 VCRs together, which at the time I mainly used to copy movie rentals to Blake tapes. And here I am on camera confessing to a federal crime. And it wasn't until film school at the University of North Texas, go Eagles, that I was finally introduced to non-linear editing through software programs like Final Cut, Avid, and my personal favorite, Adobe Premiere Pro, which I use to this day. I've been using it for over 20 years. And that was my long-winded introduction. So let's get into the questions. My first question is, how were you both introduced to not only the concept of post-production, but just to actually doing it?
Josh, take it away.
Just do it, man. I'm a bit older than you. I started doing Super 8 films and realizing very early on that, you got to cut these things together. So I had one of those little Super 8 editing setups, with the wheels and the tape and everything. And, that was pretty much it. By the time we got around to, the current age, I remember because I was working in the film industry starting in the mid 90s and kind of watching the transition happen. In fact, I had a friend who worked on a project that I was on where we were, what was it called? They would print all the footage onto literally laser discs and cut off of laser discs. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I forget what it was called, but yes, I remember it.
Yeah, I remember she was using that to cut, which I thought was pretty interesting, and then kind of watching everything sort of slowly evolve into Avid. And in fact, by the time I got around to directing a movie in 2001 called Infested, we were doing digital editing. I knew enough about actual old school film editing that I knew this was radical revolutionary, that it was just the greatest thing ever. You could make a change and it would be instantaneous, as opposed to the crap you had to go through in the old days. And I loved it. I think Adam and I ever talked about this, but like, you know, I'm a screenwriter first and foremost. One of the things that's frustrating about what you do is like, you wish you could just type and make the movie appear in its finished form, and you can't. But editing brings you a little bit closer to that. And I find it really fun to kind of just dick around with, which is why we're all here today.
My introduction to post-production is very similar to Josh's. I was making movies with my father's Sears Super 8 camera. We were doing, as you said, in-camera editing for everything. And I always wanted to make movies professionally, but I didn't understand how any of it actually worked. I just figured one day when I was old enough, I would move to LA and go to school for it and learn how to do it professionally. But in the meantime, I made movies with my friends just because it was fun, just because I loved it and I loved movies. So we would do all these in-camera editing bits, you know, and a lot of times this one friend of mine who was the one who was, all my other friends got so sick of me wanting to make movies all the time that this one friend of mine, Greg Anderson, he ended up playing multiple roles in a lot of the films that I made. So we would do things like he'd knock on the door, you know, get a shot of him knocking on the door, cut the camera, he'd change costume. I'd film him sitting at the table in the kitchen eating cereal, and he'd start the camera. He'd look up and say, "Who is it?" Cut. Change costume, back again, go to the front door. "It's me." Change costume, go back. "Come on in." It was not the most efficient way to make a movie. So I just kind of figured out on my own that you can shoot all of this direction at once and shoot all of that direction at once and then kind of cut it together later. And I bought the same little wheel crank Super 8 editor setup that Josh was talking about. And I thought I had basically discovered. I felt as though I had invented editing when I came to that conclusion. But it was fun, and that just was sort of my first inkling into you can manipulate this stuff later and really make the movie happen later after you've shot it.
Well, let's edge a little closer to what we're here to discuss, which are mashups, which according to the dictionary is defined as a mixture or fusion of disparate elements. As I mentioned, during film school, I used Premiere Pro every chance that I got, using it to edit original shows that I wrote and directed for the campus TV station. And after film school, I moved to Los Angeles, where I lived for 4 years. And while there, I focused more on writing because A, I loved it, but B, it was much cheaper at the time because I couldn't afford the industry standard edit bays at the time. Almost the entire time that I lived in LA, I worked at CBS Studios. First as an audience page at TV City, then later at the Radford lot in the mailroom before moving up to staff writer for the studio newsletter. However, this was around the time of the 2007 writers' strike, so it was really bad timing at the time. So a career in writing didn't really materialize, and I eventually moved back to Texas. But excellent timing, because by that time, Adobe software would become much more affordable, and a little website called YouTube was brand new. So I was able to rekindle my love for editing by starting my own series called Cinema Serial, which mashes up 2 different scenes from 2 different movies. I've been doing it for almost 15 years. I'm currently in the middle of my 10th season, and I'm closing in on my 500th edition. And although I haven't made a dime from this series, since not unlike your project, it's completely made up of copyrighted material. It has helped me land gigs in post-production, and it also continues to keep me creative fulfilled. At the time that I started Cinema Serial, there were very few movie mashups on YouTube. The closest thing that they had were like movie trailer mashups, like Shining, Mary Poppins. They had stuff like that. And they also had YTP, or YouTube poop as it's known, but that's a completely different beast altogether.
So the question is, where did the germ for this project originate, and what editing softwares did you both use to bring Airports into fruition?
During the quarantine, and we're coming out of it, my wife and I were getting ready to take our first trip on a plane in quite some time. I had these movie poster frames that you can pop stuff in and out of, and I'm constantly changing them up. And for some reason, I had Airport 75 in the bathroom. And I put it up shortly after we had bought tickets for our flight. And I don't know how to say this delicately, but like every time I would urinate, I would find myself staring at a poster of a small plane smacking into a larger plane. Because Airport 75 is the one with Karen Black. And, you know, the stewardess is flying the plane.
You mean the stewardess is flying the plane?
Not only that, my wife's name is Nancy. She does not have my name. She's kept her own name. That said, the fact that there was an actress named Nancy Olson in Airport 75 So I would look at the thing and I would look at her name and I'd be like, what am I doing? But I'm like, I'm not superstitious, but am I jinxing us? Am I like, should I not be looking at this every time I pee? This airplane crash as we're about to, but somewhere out of that, I had this bizarre idea and I knew it was a terrible idea. And I thought, the only person I know who would really understand the idea with a minimal amount of explanation and be willing to tell me to my face it's a terrible idea and I should move on would be my friend Adam Rifkin. And I called up Adam and I said, I have this stupid idea. And he said, well, that's great. Let's do it. And
I think he was hoping I was going to tell him, don't do it.
Very much hoping you were going to tell me not to do it. And so what do? We ended up watching them,
we screened them at your house.
Screened them all the way through, making notes, because obviously the nice thing about them is they're all kind of, they do sort of merge together in sort of interesting ways. And, not a lot of movies lend themselves to this so cleanly, I think.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there, we had the idea of like, well, one of these movies should crash into the other and we'll go from there. And then it just became, I don't know, we kind of sat there, we screened them again. We would fast forward through them. We'd look for certain types of scenes. We'd make notes. We'd kick around ideas. And here's the part you're going to crack up. You're going to die. Because I do a lot of just cutting up stuff just for shits and giggles. And also I do a weekly movie night that Adam was part of. I cut together a pre-show. I don't know, I do nutty things. I just did a thing I put up on Vimeo there's a new Bruce Springsteen song that just came out called Repo Man. And I cut together a video for it using footage of Alex Cox's Repo Man.
Very nice.
And I just got an email yesterday from Alex Cox telling me how much he loved it. He said it to everybody in the thing.
Oh, that's right.
But it's just pure, I don't know. It's some kind of weird obsessive thing. He took
the Mandy trailer and scored it with Barry Manilow's Mandy.
Oh, very nice.
Which actually was a great, it worked really well.
That wasn't even really an edit. That was just a needle drop. And it was clicked perfect in so many ways. You're like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That stuff about
yeah, Josh, you were probably the biggest champion of Mandy the internet's ever known.
That could be. In fact, I said that to Pano, so I got to know from doing the show.
Didn't he love it?
He loved it.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, it's so good.
And the crazy thing is I found out months later someone else had done a similar thing, but I can't remember if they used a different trailer. It was the same idea. It hadn't timed out quite the same way. It didn't have quite the same oomph. I just got fortunate. I dropped it at just the right spot, and you go, "Holy shit!"
It was perfect.
Yeah, but you're gonna die when you hear it. I did it on iMovie.
Oh,
I ripped HD copies of the thing, imported them in iMovie, and just cut it on iMovie.
Wow.
And which is insane because iMovie is not really built to do sophisticated cutting on. But, if you're very proficient with Mac, there are ways to do kind of workarounds that allow you to do all sorts of stuff that it's not quite built to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the highlights of the thing for me is because it was all done by eyeball with the audio.
Yeah.
I remember when we first screened it for Joe and a couple of other folks, Joe wanted to know who had done the sound mix on it. I'm like, I did by hand, just looking at the left.
Wow.
But then, we would just sort of cut it together. We'd do sequences. Adam would come over. We'd look at it. We'd talk. I'd upload him stuff. We'd talk more. He'd throw an idea at me. I'd throw an idea at him. And it was just kind of like over time, it kind of came together. And we were still, it was like the quarantine was starting to end, but people are still being very careful. Adam lived in you shared a kind of living situation with a couple of friends, and we hung out with him and them, so we were all kind of safe. So it was like our first screening was here at my house with Adam and our friends Val and Bob and my wife, and it really was one of those things. We've talked about this where I was like fully prepared for everyone to go. What? Huh? Weren't you, or was that?
Of course, we were expecting people to just say, "Why did you waste your time doing this ridiculous exercise?"
I think the idea was initially, I think in my head at least, we were going to cut together like a little 10-minute thing that I would show at my movie night. That would be the end of it. And then it just got more and more. And then we roped in Chris Millsap, who does graphics for Trailers from Hell and for my podcast, The Movies That Made Me, and has worked with Adam on several projects doing kind of CG stuff. And he got completely into it. He's one of us. It's like, all of us had like, I'm sure, paying work, which we're like diligently doing. And then you're like, okay, now I can get to the fun. And we would dive in.
Sure.
I don't think there's a wall in that movie that doesn't have a poster on it by the time we were done. I'd call up Chris. I go, can you put poster for, like the chase on one side and, some other Wadzilla on the other.
Very nice.
And behind him.
Chris did so many digital and visual effects for us on airports that I said at one point to Josh, if I'm not mistaken, if the making of airports was a town, there should be a statue of Chris Millsap in this town square.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. I don't know. I got to think about it. One of my favorites, at least, is if you look at Burt Lancaster's office. And I'm not spoiling anything because this stuff goes by so quick.
Sure.
People never notice it until like the 8th time. There's a magazine rack in his office, and Chris dropped in, and it looks perfect. The cover for the Mad magazine it's the Airport 75 parody. It's the only time Airport made the cover of Mad magazine. Yeah. So if you look carefully in the magazine rack, you will see Mad magazine with an Airport 75 parody on it in Burt Lancaster's office.
That's a deep cut
from Airport 1.
Yeah, that's nice.
And by the way, the poster for Airports for our version
is in the movie.
Is in the movie on the wall behind Dean Martin.
Oh, that's right. In Jackie Bissett's apartment. Yes. And her TV is turned on. She's watching The Deep.
Yeah.
She's watching The Deep.
See, this shit, we did this just to amuse ourselves, and clearly we are still amused by ourselves.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Like, I can see it in both of you when you talk about this. Like, this is the fluff that you want to do because you do the other stuff.
Kind of.
These are and I don't mean fluff, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's the
fluff
big project in the back of your brain.
You can say shit, crap, garbage,
shit, crap, sure. It's the stuff that you want to do because you do the other stuff. You do all of this stuff. Hurry up and get it done so I can do the things I want to do. Yeah.
But I should hand this part off to Adam because this was pretty amazing. I think we can talk. We were like, so what do we do now? And we were like, I don't know. Let's show it to some friends. And Adam, do you want to talk about who you sent it to and what happened next? Or
you mean in terms of Richard and when we screened it for Universal?
No. Your magician friend.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Good Lord. Because that for me at least was the thing.
This is supposed to get the word.
I'm doing a magic trick. Trick.
So I made a movie a few years ago that was actually I directed and was actually written by Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller. Yeah. And as a result, I became very close with Penn and Teller. And so they love movies and they screen movies all the time for themselves and their families and their friends.
Sure.
And so I said to them, me and a buddy of mine just made something and you have to, I can't tell you anything about it. You just need to gather your troops and watch it. And they all watched it like that night. I mean, it was right away. Yeah. And they loved it. Penn and Teller loved it. And I think it was Teller who really kind of went off on how he felt that it was pure cinema. And if I remember, you may remember the wording better than I, Josh, but
because I had one quibble. Yeah. He said basically that we just proved that like all the rules of cinema are just horse shit.
Yes.
And I the one thing I would disagree with him is the one rule we learned is
the only rule
horse shit at all. The only rule that matters is eye lines.
Absolutely. Everything else is fine.
You can have a character from a Academy ratio black and white silent movie making eye contact with somebody in a 4K Star Wars film. Right. And if the eye contact works, you're in.
You buy it. You just buy it. It just is what it is.
It doesn't work. That's it.
Yeah. And they said they really felt that it was, they loved it and they really thought that it was a love letter to movies,
That's
and
cool.
They, as fans of movies themselves, and really, they're obviously extremely smart guys.
Right.
They understood in a way. In fact, they even more so than when we did it, because we just dove in just for fun. They thought about it. And they just really felt that it was a really fun exercise in just the conventions of cinema and how nonsensical they are and how you can tell a story any number of different ways with film, and they just went nuts for it. So that was cool.
Well, what is it? Dead Men, what's the Steve
Don't
Martin
Wear Plaid.
movie? Yeah, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Yes.
I'm on an important case. I need your help. These people we're dealing with are killers.
Oh, thanks for telling me.
Say something like, no, Ma, look, listen to me.
Ma, look, listen to me.
That is very much, that comes to mind whenever you start talking about that, because it's not perfect, but what a great exercise in getting all that stuff together and trying to tell a unique story from all of those plot lines.
Agreed.
Yeah.
This one's blue, but you can wear it with brown.
You annoy me.
I annoy you. You come in here with no tie. You drunk? How many have you had?
One martini. I knew I was going to see you.
Sit down.
It's so much fun to watch because you try to figure out where did all of this stuff come from, and what was the actual plot, of each one of these clips.
Should also say not every clip in our movie comes from an airport movie, but we'll let you discover.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Because once you're doing that, once you're like, we're never making a penny off this and nothing,
That's what I was going to ask. Like, this is just an exercise. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, and then what happened is it sort of got carried away a bit. We ended up, we called up our friend Grant Moninger at the American Cinematheque, and we were like, I don't know, if you ever want to do like a free screening, we have this, but I'd love you to come take a look at this. And I think a combination of things, Adam and I had enough kind of credibility with Grant, and also they had decided they were going to bump this is how long ago this was, they were doing a war movie festival that they felt might be in bad timing because Russia had just invaded Ukraine.
Could be.
So they had some slots and they said, could you do a thing? And they just scheduled it. And we did a kind of trailer. We didn't tell anybody what it was.
Right.
Played to a packed house at 10 o'clock on a Monday night in the pouring rain. It was crazy. People really seemed to love it. And it was like the kind of thing where we were like, well, you know what, in the future, maybe we can try to, we want to try to do screenings where like, we can just get people to see it and enjoy it. And do things like, make them kind of fundraisers for like food banks or something like that, bring a can of food
that's cool. Yeah.
Or what have you, and come see the movie. Cause we can't make money off of it.
Sure.
And
although we did investigate the idea of making money from it. And that's why what I was referencing before, a friend who is very connected around town called the head of all airport movies were produced by and owned by Universal Pictures.
Right.
And so he called the head of the legal department of Universal and told them about this and said, we'd love to screen it for them. And if they like it, would they release it or in some way
or back it somehow?
Back it in some way. So he got all the heavyweights at Universal to get into a screening room, and they all watched it and they all loved it. They all thought it was hilarious. It didn't fit in with any of their business models, surprisingly.
Sure.
But they said, we won't stop you from screening it, which is a win, which was a big win.
That's a huge win. Yeah.
As long as you're not making money with it.
Yeah, exactly. They said, as long as you don't make money with it, we'll let you do it because we see that it came from a place of love and we appreciate it. So
to your point, this one is going to be screened July 18th, but it's for Shepherd's Heart. So that is a local food bank here in town. Right. And so, bring a canned good and you get a free shot of liquor, which I thought maybe was a bad idea. But that's.
Do you get a shot of liquor for every canned good?
Not for every can. It's limit one can per patron per. So we want them to drive away home safe. You guys touched upon those Easter eggs, and there was top class masking and rotoscoping as a result. Who wants to claim the responsibility for a lot of that? Rotoscoping, where you have someone in the foreground walking in front of a TV screen, no edge feathering, and all those rotoscoping and masking that I saw. And I was looking real close. I know how hard that was. So shout out to Chris
Millsap, the unsung hero of airports. Not that there are any sung heroes.
There is.
There's a few shots that were done by a visual effects supervisor that I've used on a number of movies named Adam Clark. And he did the one where Karen Black brings a cup of coffee into the cockpit from Airport 2 and hands it to Dean Martin from Airport 1.
Wow.
He did that shot, but he might have done another. Oh, he did a couple of the shots of the runway lights coming on and stuff.
Yeah, I think he did the runway lights, I think. Yeah.
But everything else was done by Chris Millsap.
Chris did, I think, didn't he? He did George Kennedy walking past George Kennedy.
Yes.
One of the recurring things. The only recurring character of the movies is George Kennedy, is Joe Petroni. And so, but because he has a different job in every film, we decided that we would make them the Petroni brothers. And so he shows up in all his various iterations.
He even has George Kennedy.
He even has a telephone conversation with himself. One movie talking to another. And
but it proves yet again what Teller was saying. All the conventions are bullshit. If you show George Kennedy on the phone saying something, and then you see the other George Kennedy on the other side of the phone responding, you just buy it. It just somehow clicks.
It's your old movie with your friend, you dress up on one side and you dress up on the other side.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly what it is. And I think that's really what it comes down to with a lot of this stuff. It's got to just come down to the fact that, we did it.
You just do it. And then once you've done it, you're glad you did it, you know.
You're glad you did it, and you never want to do it again. Yeah, I get it. Sure.
Although we do want to do
it.
it again. We've already discussed different possible mashup
I was
movies.
telling you my
tough.
internal dialogue. My internal dialogue is I never want to
Gotcha.
do it again, and then next week I
Understood.
start doing it again. Yeah.
Well, you
And
do
by the way,
know
we are completely open, and if any of your listeners want to email, I'm only comfortable saying this because I have no idea where it came from. I think, like, for instance, M. Night Shyamalan was probably taking a shower and he went, "Oh, Bruce Willis is dead." Like, the best ideas, you don't know where they come from.
Yeah.
It was a genuinely, I think it's one of the best ideas I've ever had, which is
Absolutely.
perfect because I can't make a nickel out of it, to like slam all these together. But it was so natural that it just sort of like it was out there for the taking. It's not, you can't just do it with anything. You know?
But the
they
thing
don't
is,
like doing all the James Bond movies would not necessarily be that fun.
But the thing is, like, probably 20 years ago, you guys couldn't have done this.
Oh no,
you know?
no, that's for sure.
So you
But
have
we're trying to come up with like another one. We
Yeah.
have one or two.
Well, you do
ideas,
know
but-
that Universal owns all 4 Jaws movies. You know,
Yeah.
they're not.
See, it's like I don't know if that would that be. I don't know.
We've gone back and forth about, do we do all the Vietnam movies and make the ultimate Vietnam movie? Do we do all the slasher movies and make the ultimate slasher movie? We've talked back and forth about different ideas. We haven't quite hit on it yet.
I think you should do all those.
There has to be a spiritual sequel.
Since I don't have to do it, I think you should do all those.
Well, as long as we're, I mean, Vietnam, the motion picture is the one that means a lot. Watching a lot of movies, but I want to do like, what was it, like Martin Sheen going upriver to kill John Wayne? That was going to
Yeah, exactly.
but, a lot of work, and a lot of grimness too. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I will say, I think 2 or 3 of the funniest things in airports are just shots from the original movies that we didn't do anything to.
Very true. Very true.
You guys live in a area that you have kind of cultivated these relationships over years, and so now you can ask for these favors, and maybe it's not as big a deal on your end because you're used to it, but when you step back from a lot of this stuff, it's got to kind of blow you over that you're able to continue to do these things. Am I anywhere near the way you think about this stuff?
Josh?
Adam,
I will say this. I still love it. I still feel like I'm the kid from Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I've been here so many more years than I ever was. You know, I grew up in Chicago, but I left when I was 17. But I still feel like that I'm the kid in Chicago dreaming of wanting to get involved in movies and make real movies and meet people who make real movies. And the fact that I've been doing it a long time, it's true, but I still feel like it's exciting, and I still feel like I'm an outsider peeking in. And when I get to be a part of situations like when we were at Universal and all the bigwigs of Universal coming in to see it, you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very fortunate position that Josh and I find ourselves in. We've both been out here a really long time, and so we've met a lot of people throughout the years, and that's how we kind of formulated these various relationships and things. But I can say I have not in any way gotten jaded by being out here and doing it for as long as I have. To me, it's still as exciting, you know.
That's good.
Yeah, jaded is not the. I mean, you get beaten down.
Sure.
That is true. That is true.
But no, jaded. There's still that crazy thing where you get up in the morning. It's like, oh my god, I'm getting to do this.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, you're like, they've beaten it out of you, but you pick it up.
That was a very good way to reform my question that was barely there.
Well, I apologize. I've got to ask, because in the middle of Adam, do you see what's behind him?
Are you talking about the Steve Brule thing or the airport's
video
playing? Yeah, the airport's trailer.
Those are our clouds. No, it's just our clouds.
It's just our cloud shot.
No, right before we started this, I told him that normally on the TV, I put up the flying toasters, right? Just because I've got 10 hours of flying toasters just over and over and over. And if anybody catches it, great. If they don't, who cares? But he suggested that I put some flying through the clouds, and I guess we got lucky here.
And
it wasn't the exact shot we used.
That's the exact shot
I didn't realize that when I asked him that, but looking at it now, that is exactly the same opening.
I thought it was the trailer for Airports you were playing in the background.
Yeah, no, it is our cloud. So
we'll edit all that out, and I'm glad you're enjoying the trailer to Airports. Yeah, that's good.
It was all planned from the beginning.
We stole that from somewhere, wherever you found it, and then our
opening,
YouTube,
our
opening credits
on YouTube.
Well, I mean, you did that also for the like the snow flurries that you would have for
we just
various
drop on
expositional.
But we dropped our opening credits run over those.
That's great.
That's hilarious.
Fantastic.
I guess my last question about Airports was, what was the most fun part of it, and what was the most challenging or non-fun part of it?
I mean, having to work with Adam Rifkin is like
I was waiting for that.
You that's not fun. But
sure.
No, I don't know. What was it? I don't know that any of those. I mean, it was all fun. That was the thing. It wasn't like I would never. if like I call up Adam and be like, hey, there's a new cut of it, let's sit down. We would go through this stuff meticulously and talk endlessly about it. There was never him, I'd never get him going, oh, do we have to? It'd be like, I'll be right over. And we would hang out and we'd eat some food and we'd watch this thing and we'd laugh like friggin' idiots. And, we'd toss out some ideas and play around with them. I remember, and then, the challenge was trying to figure out ways to take stuff that we liked and figuring out how to get it in there. Yeah. And it is still the great heartbreak of my life when who discovered it? Did you find it? Did Chris find it? There's an episode of the old Incredible Hulk TV show.
Yeah,
where he turns into a Hulk on an airplane. And this is a classic episode because like he spends half of it. And I remember it was a big deal at the time I was a kid because he's sort of resisting the urge to turn to the Hulk and he's kind of half Hulk for part of it. It was a really great episode. They used footage from Airport 75 in the TV show.
Oh, wow.
Tons of
footage, exterior stuff like, and then Hulk's inside the thing having a fight down the hole. And we're like, there's got to be a way to get this in. It's already pre-cut. And we just couldn't figure out where it would go.
Was the Incredible Hulk a Universal show? I mean, was that, they had, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was all the same
they would
place.
use stock footage.
Got it. Okay.
Which, when you think about it, wouldn't have been that much longer after it actually was in theaters that they were using that footage.
Absolutely.
So it's very bizarre that they would jump to that right away.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, and there were so many highlights. Getting to screen it at the American Cinema.
That must have been a fun night, by the way.
That was insane. And then, and then the first kind of time we did a screening here, we had, who was it, Joe? Who else? We brought a bunch of our sort of like filmmaker buddies over to watch it and give feedback. Scott and Larry came.
We screened it for Larry. I mean, for Adam McKay.
Screened it for Adam McKay, Dan Waters, Ike Barinholtz.
Yeah, my cousin.
Guillermo still never seen it. Every time I talk to Guillermo, I read to him, he wants to see it in a theater.
Right. Well,
and my bad. I should probably
tell him to come to Waco.
If he gets to Waco this week, he can. But he's like, I really want to see it in the theater. I'm like, I appreciate.
We should set up a screening for him. I think he's still mixing Frankenstein.
Yeah, no, we've got to do something. But so many people saw it and really genuinely seemed to enjoy it. I mean, that's been a blast. And then every now and then, it's the weirdest thing in the world. You never want to be. You don't want to like go do a podcast and then have the host sort of like send you an email and go, will you read my script or take a look at my film? And
okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the script away.
Yeah. My thoughts on that are the public record in case you don't know. But every now and then we'll have a guest on the movie show. And I'm like, it's the weirdest thing. I don't think I would ever do this. Would you? I wouldn't do this with a movie I had written and directed or just written.
No. I feel that Airport's the only movie that I would ever do this with as well.
Yeah, it is. But somehow, but it's the weirdest thing saying to you, going, so my friend Adam, I made this movie I think you'd like. And you're like, I don't know how to make this come across any better than that. It's like, but two things happen. Most of the time, thankfully, they watch it, they get back and they're like, oh, that's amazing. And then sometimes I never hear from them again. And it's like, I'm just assuming they have not watched it because that was such a bonehead play on my,
Adam, quick sidestep into one of your past films. As I mentioned before, The Chase, an action comedy from 1994 starring Charlie Sheen, is my favorite of your films.
Thank you.
It's a 90-minute firecracker. Just grabs you by the throat and just doesn't let go.
Thank you.
But one thing I never knew about it was that it was inspired by the 1971 film Vanishing Point. Now, I've always known that that other 1994 Charlie Sheen action comedy, Terminal Velocity, was inspired by Vanishing Point because Sheen's driving the 1970 Dodge Challenger, which is the same make, model, and year as the one using Vanishing Point. So was that like a complete coincidence, or
that was a coincidence as far as I'm aware. I loved Vanishing. Me and the producer Brad Wyman thought that it would be a fun theme to explore and have fun with. Just do one big chase, and so we screened at the time. We screened Vanishing Point again right before going into production on The Chase, but the connection to Vanishing Point and Terminal Velocity I was unaware of until just now.
The Chase and Terminal Velocity would make a great double feature. The Chase takes place during the day. Terminal Velocity is at night. Your film is just so rapid paced that no one's going to leave then after that.
So when we do that double feature, me and Darren Sarafian will come and do a Q&A in between the two movies.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Adam, Mousehunt is one of my favorites, and it's only because it hit at the right time with my kids and me and the whole thing, right? And so it feels like a live-action cartoon, and I love it because of that.
Well, what happened was I wrote Mousehunt as a spec script, and for people who don't know what that means, it means you just write it on your own, not hired to write it, in hopes you're going to sell it. You write it on the speculation that you might be able to sell it. So for whatever weird reason, as Josh said, most of the time the balls don't land in the right holes, but the planets aligned this time. Sorry to mix my metaphors.
Okay.
And the script sold in a bidding war to DreamWorks, their first script that they bought. And the next day, I had a meeting with Steven Spielberg, which was mind-blowing. And he greenlit the movie in the room.
Amazing.
They had been looking for a movie for Gore Verbinski to direct because they loved the Budweiser frog commercials. And so they thought, if he can direct frogs, he can direct mice. So that's how it all came together.
Yeah, that seems
Radically different species too, man. That's such an offensive assumption.
It's hard. It's
Well, he's
hard.
very versatile, obviously.
Small Soldiers, also a big hit in my house at the time. You know, my kids would just happen to be the right age, and so those two
Your
movies
kids have great taste in movies.
Well,
clearly.
you don't know my kids, but yeah, they those are two I remember as being big because of their age and the time. And you know, Josh, when we talk about your stuff with say like A History of Violence, tell me about how that happens.
I was brought in by the studio. They had the book and they were just talking to
Okay.
different writers, pitching
Yeah.
takes, and I came in with the take they liked the most.
Yeah.
I mean, that would take like a solid hour to really go through it.
Anything from Cronenberg?
Oh, he was great, man. He was great. I had a fantastic time working with him, and then I got to go up and hang out on the set, which is really funny because every time I come up, people would find out who I was, and they'd be like, "Oh, are you here to work on the script?" I was like, "No, the script's done, man. I'm just like, you have an opportunity to watch David Cronenberg direct. You take it." Yeah, just an incredible experience. And to reference, in case people don't know what you're talking about with the VHS stuff, we were the last American movie released on VHS. I have, as Adam will attest, I have a VHS box for History of Violence framed on my walls. I'm glad that vinyl has made it back because vinyl's an amazing medium. These friggin' kids who are trying to bring back VHS, I'm like, I don't know what the hell's the matter with them. I'm like, let it die. Let it die because we don't need it back, and B, like you're messing with my legacy. You goddamn
Yeah.
Adam, you do have a new film coming out, which is a Western that your mother wrote called Last Train to Fortune. And I'm very excited about it because it reunites Malcolm McDowell and Mary Steenburgen, who starred in Time After Time, 1979. Love that movie. So my question to you, and this is a leading question, did you shoot Last Train to Fortune at the Old Tucson Ranch, the Bonanza Creek Ranch, the Spawn Ranch, Iverson Ranch, or somewhere else? Because it's nowhere on the internet. I've looked everywhere.
It is. We shot it on the Melody Ranch. Most recently they shot Deadwood there. They shot Westworld there. We shot there for all of our old Western town stuff, and it was fabulous. And the scope and the production value that it brings with it is amazing. And then the rest, we shot there for a week. And then the rest of the shoot, we were just out in the wilderness, in the wilds of Malibu Creek and Lancaster and Agua Dulce, and
Where they shot MASH.
And also we shot at Vasquez Rocks, where they've shot 1,000 movies. We shot in Lone Pine, where they shot 1,000 movies.
Well, thank you for that exclusive, Adam, because right after we sign off from this interview, I'm going to be personally adding those pieces of information to the Scout Master Location Database. And this brings us to our sponsor for this interview, which, full disclosure, was founded by yours truly and developed by the coding team here at Rogue Media. So take it away, Mike, since you have a much more seasoned radio voice.
I'm going to read this as it was written. Thank you, Matt. Scoutmaster is a free GPS mobile app which tracks shooting locations to all your favorite films and shows, and which features the most comprehensive shooting location database for all types of media, movies, television, documentaries, concert films, sporting events, music videos, you name it. From the most popular to the most obscure of titles, Scoutmaster is available on all mobile platforms and all mobile app stores, including Apple and Google Play. Scout the world and master the movies with Scoutmaster. I have done my job.
I didn't know that existed. I'm going to look into that. That's pretty nifty.
Absolutely. Been in the works for at least 7 years. The database has. It's the most comprehensive one of its kind on the internet.
Very
so,
cool.
fellows, if you ever want to grant
Smart guy.
other location exclusives from your other past films, like Never on Tuesday or Infested, we'd be more than happy to add them to the database.
Never on Tuesday was shot in Borrego Springs, California.
Exactly,
There
but I
you go.
want the coordinates. Adam.
That I don't remember.
All right. We want to know where that movie magic happened.
If you could
all
just
right?
pass your address right here in the chat, that'd be great.
Thank you so much for this. We're very
Thank
excited.
you.
Thank you for reaching out to us. I wish we could be there for the screening. I think it's gonna be a blast. I would bring many cans and drink many tequilas if I
Take
were.
videos from it. We want to see
Yeah.
how it goes.
We'll
You
be
got
sure
it.
to provide that.
Yes,
Thank you
please
guys
do.
for being here. We really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to meet both of you, and thank you
Thank
for
you so much.
putting up with us.
Thank you
Absolutely.
guys, and thanks for screening
Thank
the
you.
movie.
All right.
Absolutely.
And you want to just lead us out with where they can see airports in Waco?
Airports will be screening for one night only, Friday, July 18th at 7 p.m. at the Waco Hippodrome. Patrons 21 and over will be offered one free beer for attending, and anyone who donates a canned good will get a free shot from Streppard's Heart. Thank you guys again for putting up with our nonsense, and thank you for putting the time into this passion project.
Josh, Adam, thank you ever so much for being here. It was indeed an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you, guys.
Have a great one.
You too.
Matt, tell me, how did you come up with it, and why have you maintained it for so long?
You know, it's funny. We mentioned terminal velocity before.
Yeah.
And when I first moved to LA, this was 2006. On my way to LA, I stopped in Tucson to look for locations from that film. And there was nothing on the internet at
Right.
that time.
Right.
So I had to, ask around.
What you're talking about is one app on your phone where you could track down any movie you wanted to.
It's just
It's
a
amazing.
way for the fans to get closer to what they love.
Well, check out Scoutmaster. Check out Airports, 7 o'clock, July 18th at the Waco Hippodrome. Thank you for being here.